It's been an admittedly great year for horror. Whether it's Naomi Scott delivering a performance of star-making quality in Smile 2, Hollywood proving they can make an unnecessary remake great in Speak No Evil, or Alien returning to its horror roots with Romulus, the Scream Queens have united to prove that horror might just emerge as the most economic genre in Hollywood. And yes, I did just call James McAvoy a Scream Queen. With Heretic, Hugh Grant makes his bid for the title, playing Mr. Reed, a quirky and strange old man who terrorizes two missionaries played by Sophie, Thatcher and Chloe East, trapping them in his home as part of a deadly game of religion and faith. The movie is directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the two people responsible for the Quiet Place franchise, before John Krasinski hijacked the first film, taking credit for its success and then replacing them in favor of writing the highly inferior sequel himself. With how good Heretic is, I'm beginning to think there was no bigger creative mistake than replacing them as the writers of A Quiet Place 2, delivering a horror movie that is tense, creative, and smart. It's been said that Hugh Grant is having quite the career resurgence, playing Lofty, the OG Oompa Loompa in Wonka, and the antagonist in The Perfect Paddington 2. And if you take a look at his filmography between 2005 and 2014, you'd be hard-pressed to say that Hollywood didn't turn its back on him for quite a while, until he landed a minor role in a criminally underrated The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Criminally underrated. But in Hugh Grant's words, he's no longer the romantic leading man who starred in Notting Hill and Bridget Jones's Diary, instead entering the freak show phase of his career. But in Heretic, he plays a role which is impossible to categorize with anything he's done before. As a religious skeptic, he is an absolutely terrifying and absolutely in control force, while still leaning on enough old British charm to make himself genuinely unpredictable and hard to get a read on. Though Grant undeniably walks away with this movie in his back pocket, Yellow Jacket's Sophie Thatcher does quite a fantastic job keeping up with him. It's very subdued for a horror performance, so she instead uses the quiver of a lip and the blink of an eye to convey just how terrified she is. She has the dramatic chops that I can see translating outside of even a horror film. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Chloe East, one of the main leads of Heretic. In an interview with Letterboxd, East describes The Hateful Eight as the movie which got her into movies, and considering it only released 8 years ago, I certainly don't get the impression that acting is some lifelong passion of hers, and it really shows. She's simply too effortful and over the top in how she conveys emotions, and I never get the impression that whatever I'm seeing on screen is an authentic display of emotion. Topher Grace shows up for literally a few moments. I know we use Blink and You'll Miss It as a figure of speech, but I genuinely didn't recognize him and only found out he was in this movie afterwards. In a lesser writer's hands, the scenes of Grant's questioning of the missionaries' faith could have felt like we were going through the motions, but Beck and Woods use every single line to make these moments interesting, imbuing them with well-placed metaphors, analogies, and pop culture references while remaining incredibly natural. The movie deals with pretty big concepts, and while it doesn't delve into any of its themes greatly, it manages to always do it in an engaging and creative way. The cinematography by Chung Chung-hoon blew me away. Sure, we all saw that shot in the trailer of the girl running through the house and the camera zooming out to essentially show her inside of a board game, but I didn't anticipate just how well the cinematography and editing would be used to create tension. The key factor in this is how conservative the editing is in its use of cuts. If a character sees something terrifying, instead of cutting from their reaction to the thing, the camera will show their reaction and then slowly pan to whatever it is they're looking at. And in those moments, you'll hold your breath waiting to see what it is that's terrifying them. The music is pretty great. It surprisingly reminded me of the score for Bombshell, but that's neither here or there. In terms of genuine weaknesses of the film, the screenplay jumps the shark on believability in the third act and doesn't quite manage to stick the landing. It suffers from feeling like a noticeably different movie by the end than it did in the beginning, and doesn't artfully transform itself in the same way a Bong Joon-ho movie would. In terms of plot armor, a recurring problem in horror movies, it really pushes what it can get away with. But the truth is, maybe I will let them get away with it, because for the most part, this movie is just a tense, clever, well acted, well shot, and well edited psychological horror, and one that manages to just be plain fun. Like, you can just tell the filmmakers were having a ball, and I think that's a great thing. And for that, I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for weekly TV and movie reviews. And if you've had the chance to watch Heretic, let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'm Cinemike, and I'll see you next time.